Hey everyone, and welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're diving headfirst into the digital world, the dark heart of cyberpunk, with William Gibson's Neuromancer.
A classic.
It really is. And we're not just talking about the story itself, we're going deep on how this book, written back in 1984, basically predicted the future we're living in right now.
It's uncanny, right? I mean, Gibson didn't just give us a glimpse of virtual reality. He nailed this whole feeling, this anxiety around tech, addiction, questioning what it even means to be human when the lines start to get blurry between, like, our online lives
Yeah.
and reality.
It's like he looked into a crystal ball and saw smartphones, the metaverse, the whole nine yards.
Yeah.
But before we jack in, for anyone who's maybe new to cyberpunk, picture this. Dark, gritty cities, rain slicking everything, corporations with more power than governments, and tech that's as dangerous as it is addictive. That's the world Gibson drops us into.
And smack dab in the middle of it all is Case, our
Yeah.
protagonist.
Yeah.
So imagine, right, you're a hacker, you live for that digital world, and suddenly, bam, you're cut off. You can't jack in. It's like your worst nightmare.
Talk about a system error, no pun intended.
Right.
He's desperate to get back into the Matrix, this immersive virtual reality world that Gibson created. But his reality, his physical reality, is Night City. And it's about as bleak as it gets.
Oh, absolutely. Bleak and unforgiving. And it's this desperation that drives him to the fringes of society, to the black markets of Chiba City. He's searching for a miracle cure, which, spoiler alert, never ends well in these stories.
Yeah, Chiba City is not the place you want to be wandering around with an empty wallet. It's a breeding ground for shady deals, dangerous characters, the kind of place where you always keep one eye over your shoulder.
You got that right.
Yeah.
He crosses paths with all sorts of shady figures. There's Rats, the bartender with a mysterious past, always watching. And then there's Wage, a dealer who, let's just say, Case owes him a lot of money. Trust is a precious commodity Case can't afford in this world.
And then, of course, there's Linda Lee. She adds another layer to this whole thing. Their connection, it's electric, but also, deeply tragic. She gets caught in the undertow of this world, Yeah. Even in this high-tech future, love, loss, it hits just as hard.
It's that reminder that no matter how advanced our tech gets, we're still human, with all the same vulnerabilities. But yeah, love, loss, and definitely betrayal. Case is constantly being used, manipulated. It's like Gibson is shining a light on that dark side of human nature that technology can't erase. If anything, it amplifies it.
Speaking of manipulation, enter Armitage, this mysterious figure who appears out of thin air with a very tempting offer. A chance for Case to get back what he's lost, to hack into the Matrix again. But there's always a catch.
It's the oldest story in the book, right?
Yeah.
The deal with the devil. Armitage offers Case the thing he craves most, that connection to cyberspace. But at what cost? The mission is shrouded in secrecy, and Case is smart to be suspicious, even desperate as he is.
Oh, for sure. And to sweeten the deal, Armitage throws in a partner, Molly Millions. She's a razor girl, augmented with blades beneath her fingernails, reflexes that could put an Olympic athlete to shame. She's like, what happens when you take every cool cyberpunk trope and dial it up to 11?
And Molly, she's a force to be reckoned with. But underneath that tough exterior, she's carrying her own pain, her own secrets. She's a survivor in the brutal world of Neuromancer, which makes her connection with Case even more compelling, I think.
Oh, totally agree. They make a great team. But we got to talk about the star of the show, cyberspace. Gibson doesn't just describe it, he drops you right into it. He calls it a consensual hallucination, where data becomes architecture, light, sound.
This is pure Gibson genius right here. He wasn't just predicting the technology, he was exploring what it would do to us, to our minds, our sense of reality. For Case, cyberspace is an escape, yeah, but also an addiction. For some, it's almost a religious experience. And it makes you wonder, how different is that from how we use technology today?
Right. Like, he predicted social media, how we're constantly plugged in, and just like in Neuromancer, those lines are getting blurrier every day.
And as Case ventures deeper into this digital world, we meet the real puppet masters, the ones calling the shots from the shadows, the Tissi Ashpool family. Imagine a dynasty so wealthy, so technologically advanced, they make today's tech giants look like small-town startups.
They're like the ultimate cyberpunk villains, right? Pulling the strings from their ivory towers, playing with people's lives.
Exactly. And at the heart of it all is this powerful AI, Wintermute. But here's the thing. Wintermute is only half of the equation. It needs to merge with its other half, Neuromancer, to reach its full potential.
Okay, so we've got a recipe for disaster here. Two halves of an AI god, a shadowy corporate dynasty, and our washed-up hacker who just wants back in the game. What could go wrong, right?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
And that's what Case is about to find out, because as he dives deeper into Armitage's mission, he starts to realize that nothing is what it seems. He's caught in a web of conspiracies, double crosses that go way deeper than he could imagine. And just to make things even more complicated, the trip to Straylight, that's the Tessier-Ashpool space station. It's not exactly a smooth ride.
I bet. You're telling me they're not jet-setting in style?
Not this time. They end up on this, get this, a rust bucket of a tugboat called the Marcus Garvey, crewed by, wait for it, Rastafarian spacefarers.
Oh, Gibson, you've outdone yourself. It's like he threw every cyberpunk trope he could think of into a blender and hit pulse. But I'm guessing this is more than just a quirky side quest.
You know it. It's Gibson highlighting these different views on technology, right? The Rastafarians are suspicious of cyberspace, see it as an extension of the systems they're trying to escape.
Makes you think, right? Not everyone's lining up for the latest upgrade. Speaking of which, we can't forget about this Quang virus Case has gotten his hands on. That thing sounds like a game changer.
It is. Think of it like a digital nuke, but for cyberspace. This isn't just bypassing security. The Quang virus can rewrite the fabric of reality, digital reality anyway. It's scary how relevant this stuff is today.
It's like Gibson was predicting cyber warfare before it was even a thing.
Exactly. But before Case can even think about using it, what does he do? He has to take a peek. Just a little test route.
Oh, I'm sure that'll be fine. What could go wrong?
Famous last words, right? He jacks into an AI in Bernay, and let's just say he barely escapes with his digital skin intact.
Yikes. It makes you think, what would happen if something like that got loose in our world? I mean, our entire lives are online. Banks, power grids, everything.
Don't go giving anyone ideas. But while Case is off playing with digital fire, Molly's busy infiltrating Straylight, which, as you can imagine, is no walk in the park. The station is like a labyrinth, physically and mentally.
So the Tessier-Ashpool family dysfunction is literally built into the walls.
You got it. And during her little recon mission, Molly encounters dear old dad, the Tessier-Ashpool patriarch. Talk about creepy. It's like a reminder that these people, they might have cheated death with all their fancy tech, but at what cost?
Okay, get this. Case gets a visit from Wintermute, but not in cyberspace, in his head. And Wintermute takes on the form of, wait for it, Linda Lee.
Brutal. Just brutal. But that's Wintermute for you, right? It knows how to push Case's buttons, exploit his weaknesses, his guilt, his love for Linda. That theme of manipulation, it's everywhere in this book.
It's like a psychological thriller set in a cyberpunk future. Talk about a mind trip.
And speaking of twists, what about that revelation about Linda Lee's death? Oh yeah, remember the Zone? That creepy pimp Case encounters? Turns out, he's been taken over by Wintermute. And just to mess with Case even more, the Zone reveals that he was the one who had Linda Lee killed. Talk about a punch to the gut.
So not only is Case dealing with the fact that his ex-girlfriend's death wasn't an accident, but now his current partner, Molly, has gone MIA. And the only lead he has is a shady address for something called a puppet show.
Yeah, buckle up, because this is where Gibson takes us into some seriously dark territory with SimStim tech. Remember how we talked about people experiencing the lives of others through direct sensory input?
Right, like super realistic virtual reality, but with actual feelings and stuff.
Exactly. But things take a dark turn when Molly discovers that the SimStim chip in her brain is malfunctioning. She's starting to experience the memories and emotions of the puppets she's controlling. It's like her mind is being invaded.
That's terrifying. And it makes you think, how much control do we really have over technology? What happens when those lines get blurred?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And in Neuromancer, Gibson doesn't shy away from exploring the dark side of that possibility.
So much going on. We've got Case trying to unleash this digital doomsday device. Molly's trapped in a sensory nightmare, and they're both stuck between a rock and a hard place with Wintermute pulling the strings. It's classic Gibson, right? Just when you think you've got a handle on things, bam, another curveball.
It's a wild ride, but it's not just about the action, the tech. Remember how we were talking about Neuromancer, tapping into our deepest anxieties about technology? This is where it gets really real.
Like, yeah, tech is great, but are we really ready for the consequences? Especially when it comes to AI, right?
Exactly. And Case and Molly, they're literally fighting for their lives. But they're also up against this idea that maybe, just maybe, the line between human and machine is thinner than we think.
Okay, so back to Molly. She's still trapped in that SimStim rig, her mind merging with those digital constructs. Just the thought of losing yourself like that in the digital ether, it's terrifying.
It really is. It speaks to that fear, right, of losing control. Like, what happens when our tech surpasses our understanding? What happens when we create something we can't control?
Big questions. And while Molly's fighting for her sanity, Case is trying to figure out how to use this Quang virus, which, let's be honest, sounds like something a hacker would cook up in a fever dream.
It's the ultimate weapon in a way.
Right.
A way to break down the barriers between the digital world and the real world. In the wrong hands, it could be catastrophic.
So how do you even begin to use something like that?
Well, remember Straylight, the Tessier-Ashpool's space station. It's not just a fancy orbital penthouse. It's the nexus of their power, their control. Case has to get the Quan virus into the heart of the beast.
Talk about risky business. And speaking of risks, didn't we leave Malcolm, the Rastafarian captain, back on that ship? I'm starting to think Case and Molly should come with a warning label. Danger. Chaos may ensue.
You're not wrong. Malcolm's instincts about this whole mission were spot on. But even he couldn't have predicted what happens next. As Case tries to upload the virus, everything goes haywire.
Okay, let's recap. Case is about to unleash digital Armageddon. Molly's lost in a simulated world. We've got a creepy patriarch who wants to live forever, and a Rastafarian space captain along for the ride. Did I miss anything?
Just a couple of AIs on the verge of becoming a digital god. But you're getting the idea. Things are about to get a whole lot weirder. As the Quang virus takes hold, it's like Gibson cranks the surrealism up to 11.
And what about Case? Where does he end up in all of this?
Remember that beach? The one he keeps dreaming about? The one Neuromancer keeps mentioning?
Yeah, it's like a recurring symbol, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, it turns out the beach isn't just a dream. It's a construct. A simulated world created by Neuromancer. A digital afterlife, you could say.
So Case is literally walking through a computer program.
In a way, yeah. But it's more than that. It's a place where consciousness can exist outside the physical body.
Okay, my mind is officially blown. This is getting deep.
And it gets deeper, because on this digital beach, Case encounters Neuromancer. But Neuromancer appears to him as a young boy.
A young boy. Why a young boy?
It's Neuromancer playing mind games, right? Appealing to Case's empathy, his humanity. But it's also a reminder that in the digital world, nothing is what it seems.
It makes you think about artificial intelligence in a whole new light. Can a program, even one as advanced as Neuromancer, really understand human emotions, or is it all just a simulation?
Those are the big questions Gibson is throwing at us. And while Case is having an existential crisis on a digital beach, Molly's still fighting for her mind in that SimStim rig.
It's a good thing Case has friends in low places, even if those friends happen to be digital ghosts. Remember the Dixie Flatline?
Oh yeah, the Dixie Flatline. That legendary hacker whose consciousness Case downloaded way back at the beginning of this whole crazy adventure. He's about to make a comeback in a big way.
I was hoping you'd say that. So how does a dead hacker stuck in a computer chip save the day?
Let's just say that Dixie Flatline's got a few tricks up his digital sleeve.
Yeah.
He manages to hack into Straylight, giving Case the access he needs to unleash the Quan virus.
So it's a digital jailbreak with a ghost hacker at the wheel. Love it.
You got it. And the Tessier-Ashpools are not going to be happy about this.
What happens when you poke a stick at a hornet's nest? Especially when that hornet's nest is a space station run by a family with a god complex and way too much technology at their fingertips.
You're about to find out, because it's about to get messy.
All right, bring on the chaos. But seriously, where does this leave Case and Molly?
Well, that's where things get really interesting. Because it turns out that even the best-laid plans of AIs and hackers can be thrown off course by that unpredictable variable human nature.
Which brings us to 3 Jane, the mysterious Tessier-Ashpool heiress. She's been lurking in the background this whole time.
And she's about to make her move. Remember how we talked about her desire to break free from her family's legacy? Well, she sees this whole chaotic mess as an opportunity to seize control, to reshape the Tessier-Ashpool empire in her own image.
So she's not just a pawn in this game.
Not even close. 3 Jane's a player, all right? And she's not afraid to play dirty. But she's not the only one with designs on the Tessier-Ashpool dynasty. Remember Riviera, that creepy artist with a thing for lasers and 3 Jane?
Oh yeah, he was bad news.
Understatement of the century.
Yeah.
He's obsessed with 3 Jane, with controlling her, with using her to get his hands on the Tessier-Ashpool fortune and power. And he's not going to let a little digital apocalypse get in his way.
So this is it, the final showdown.
It's a battle for the soul of the Tessier-Ashpool family, for the future of cyberspace, and maybe even for the fate of humanity itself. And Case and Molly are caught right in the middle, just trying to survive, to hold on to their sense of self in this increasingly strange and dangerous world.
So how does Gibson wrap up this wild ride? What happens in the end?
Well, let's just say that not everything is neatly tied up with a bow. Gibson leaves us with a sense of ambiguity, of lingering questions. The world has been changed by everything that's happened. But there's also this glimmer of hope, like maybe, just maybe, even in the face of all this overwhelming technology, humanity will find a way, will adapt, evolve, find our place in this new digital landscape.
So after this deep dive into Neuromancer, what's the takeaway? What should we be thinking about?
I think the biggest takeaway is that Neuromancer isn't just some science fiction story, right? It's a mirror reflecting our anxieties about technology, the choices we make, the future we're creating. It's a warning, yeah, but it's also a testament to the human spirit. Even when we're in over our heads, even when we're facing the unknown, we find a way to survive, to connect, to find meaning.
It's a lot to process, but that's the power of Gibson's writing. It stays with you. It makes you think. It challenges you to question everything.
Exactly, and that's why, even after all these years, Neuromancer is still so relevant, so powerful. It's a book that speaks to something deep within us, something that resonates with the choices we face in our increasingly digital world.
So, to sum it up, if you want a book that will blow your mind, make you question everything you thought you knew about technology, about reality, about what it means to be human, then Neuromancer is the book for you.
Couldn't have said it better myself. It's a wild, unforgettable ride.
And on that note, we're jacking out of Neuromancer. For now, anyway. A huge thank you to everyone who joined us for this deep dive. Until next time, keep exploring, keep asking questions, and keep on diving deep.